It's been a long time since I sat in this corner and did an AUTHORTUBE Real Talk. I'm afraid of my book. Let's talk about it. So this is a series that I started a couple of years ago called AUTHORTUBE Real Talks. They're minimally edited videos where I just kind of ramble about what I'm thinking about in terms of writing. My bulldog, who is loud, is hanging out with me in my room, so he's sitting here if you hear inhales or eventually snoring. Writing has been kind of scary for me lately, which is a little bit weird. I mean, considering the fact that I feel like I've made major strides this year in terms of not feeling afraid of writing. So let's talk about it. If you're new to this channel, I've been writing for almost 10 years. I'm almost done my 12th book. And so I have a lot of experience with writing. I've learned sort of my quirks, my preferences with work. That's been a tough process, but it's been a great process. It's something that I've enjoyed. Obviously, I love writing very much. I've been working on a contemporary fantasy novel called Seventh Virtue since May of 2021. It's almost done. The draft is just about 160,000 words right now. I have been a bit afraid to write it. So I did NaNoWriMo for Seventh Virtue and wrote the 50,000 words I needed. So I won Nano. So I was very used to working on Seventh Virtue pretty much all the time. That was not really an issue for me. It's something that I really looked forward to be honest. It was something that I grew to really love in NaNoWriMo, was just spending so much time, copious amounts of time on my project, to the point where it became my #1 priority, which was really fantastic for me, especially as a student who has struggled with boundaries and making sure that I'm taking care of myself while I'm in school. So it was nice to actually take care of myself by doing something I really love doing. I thought, when I finished NaNoWriMo, hey, I'm going to take a bit of a break. It makes sense. I've been kind of on go mode for a couple of months with Seventh Virtue. I worked on it very intensely in July of this year, so 2022, for Camp NaNoWriMo, and that was very successful. I outlined pretty much the entire thing. Well, not outlining the actual book, but I world built the book, and I did work on a loose outline in that month. I have a vlog where I talk about everything that I did. And then I was pretty much consistently working on it since then. During the school year, I'm in my last year of my BA in creative writing. I can't believe that. It's crazy. It's gone by so fast. During the school year, usually I don't write that much. I don't have time, which sounds like an oxymoron because I am a creative writing major. If you're a creative writing major, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You just don't have time to write things that aren't for your degree. I didn't want to do that with Seventh Virtue because I was really enjoying my time in the summer working on it. So I consistently still worked on it. I think for September, I took a longer break, but I was working on it through August and I was working on it a bit through September. I took a tiny break in September, I think for 2 weeks. And then October, I believe I wrote 20,000 words or something like that. 30,000, I can't remember. It was a lot of words in October, and then I went and I wrote the 50K. I think it was 20,000 in October, 50K in November. So lots of Seventh Virtue, very busy, constantly thinking about the project. When December 1st rolled around, I was like, yeah, I'll take a break. That makes sense. Why not? The problem is, I have not been able to get out of that for a while. And it's not that I want to take a break right now. I'm just paralyzed, I think, by fear in a way, because, and this is a strange feeling for me. I didn't think that I'd feel it again. I've spent a long time working on myself, working on my perfectionism, because, if you didn't know, I have struggled with those things a lot. I've been embarrassed of my writing. I've been ashamed of my writing. I felt it wasn't good. I've genuinely thought, hey, I'm not a very good writer right now, I've had all the thoughts that you've probably had. I am a normal writer, just like everybody else. I think it can kind of be weird, when you're an author tuber, you make content about your writing. It's hard maybe for people to understand that you also have off days. You also have times where you don't feel good. And I'm not saying I've necessarily actually felt that from my community. Hey, here I am. I won NaNoWriMo. I wrote 20K in October. This is my 12th book that I'm working on. How has she done so much? And the truth is, it's not easy, right? Writing isn't easy for everybody. So I've struggled with those things, but I didn't think I was going to struggle with it again necessarily. And it's not that I didn't think I would experience it again, because I have really gotten good at telling myself that, there aren't black and whites with the writing. Just because I've gone through it now doesn't mean it's not going to come back again, right? And I've been very good at accepting that. I just think I was a little bit unprepared after NaNoWriMo because I ended up not working on the project for a really long time. Today is the 22nd of December. I'm going to try to upload this video actually right after I film it. I really have not been working consistently on this project. I think for 16 days, or was it 13 days or something like that, I didn't touch it at all, which is totally fine, totally normal. I've taken much longer breaks, but I noticed it around the week and a half point, that wasn't really a conscious decision. It was more so that I was pushing off the writing. It was procrastination, really. I knew I wanted to work on the book. I was just like, I can't feel comfortable opening this project and sitting down. And I tried to figure out why that was. And there are a couple of reasons. The first reason was that I'm at a part of the book, which is the ending. And I realized very recently that I hate writing beginnings and I hate writing endings. I love writing the middle, which is weird because a lot of people hate the middle. A lot of people love the beginning, or a lot of people love the ending. I love the middle because I am a very resistant to change type of person. And when I'm in the middle of something, I understand it. Like, I know where I need to go. I know where I came from. And I also don't feel like a lot is changing. I struggle a lot with accepting change, and it even affects my writing and the changes that occur in my books. So I'm at the end. There's really nothing left. It's a couple of things, a couple of scenes, a couple of chapters, a couple of thousand words. It's not that much in comparison. I mean, this is a beast of a book. It's really long. It's my second longest book that I've ever written. So, we have a little bit, but it's not much. So it shouldn't be taking me this long. But the fact of the matter, I am scared shitless. I don't like the idea that I am going to finish this book that I've been working on since 2021. I was in my second year of university when I started this book, which is crazy to think about because that feels like a lifetime ago. And now I'm graduating. Like, what? First of all, Seventh Virtue, I wasn't supposed to finish. This was supposed to be a shits and giggles project. To give you the background in case, because I've grown quite a bit since I started this project, I started Seventh Virtue as an experiment, as just something for fun, because I was struggling to have fun with my writing for, a number of years at that point, and I was like, I'm tired of this. I just want to try something. I was a literary fiction writer up until that point. I'd started in a genre. I hadn't gone back to genre, and it was weird for me to be like, yeah, let me write fantasy, a genre I've never read before or even was interested in. I didn't like fantasy. That is changing now. I'm starting to love the genre a lot, and I do like it. They're like my favorite things to read now, but I never liked fantasy growing up. I found it difficult to read. I found it difficult to understand. So one day in 2021, I'm like, oh, let me just write this random fantasy book. I had this fantasy version of Fostered planned out just for shits and giggles. Again, I got the idea, I think in 2018 or 2019. And so in 2021, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just write the first 10,000 words of this. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to finish this because I'm a literary fiction writer. I don't care about genre fiction, whatever. It's not going to be anything major. It's just going to be something fun for me. I documented writing the first 10K because I wrote the first 10K. It was actually 11K in one day. So I have an entire vlog talking about that where I really dove into the story, but I didn't stop writing it. Genuinely though, I didn't think I would get past maybe the 40,000 word mark. And then eventually the project became my thing. It was so fun. I was enjoying it so much. I was understanding the characters a lot. The dynamic was amazing. And so at one point the book kind of flipped on me. It went from being like, I'm never going to work on this ever again, to being like, I love this and I have ideas for sequels and I'm going to write a sequel to it. And I think it's going to be my main Fostered book right now. If you don't know what Fostered is, I have an entire video talking about it. Very complicated universe and backstory. It was a series of books I started when I was 13 that has since evolved into many genres, many books, many age categories, things like that. So now I'm at the point where I'm like, this is where Fostered is going to go for the rest of time, which I agree. I'm not going to write any of the literary Fostered ideas that I have anymore. The dystopian plot is dead. It's not coming back. Well, unless I end up shifting the project again. This is going to be the main thing. It's really uncomfortable for me to leave it behind. And I'm not leaving it behind. I'm writing another book. I'm incapable of writing standalones when it comes to Fostered. I love these characters so much. They've been with me for 10 years. I don't want to give them up. That was stopping me from writing because I'm like, I don't like that I'm here. I don't like them. I am at the end. I just had gotten to this point where I was in love with this book. I couldn't stop thinking about this book. Every day of my life was dedicated toward this book. I was not working on my school assignments. I was working on this book. Listen, I'm still getting A's, okay? I'm not recommending that necessarily if you're a student. It was nice. It felt like my secret, my thing, my special project that I was just pouring my love into, and I was thrilled about it, to be honest. October was a great month when it came to writing, and up until the end of November when I had a personal emergency, November was fantastic. I loved being wrapped up in the book and the world, and I'd gotten to this point, if you're a writer, you get to this point in the book where you look back after and you're like, I've never had as much fun as I've had, except for when I was writing this in particular, and it was mind-blowing. And so I was thinking, I'm at this part of the book, it's a ball scene, it should be fun, where I'm like, I want to go back. I don't want to progress. I don't like this change. It's really uncomfortable. So I haven't been writing it, to be honest. And then another thing that was kind of bothering me wasn't just the ending, it was just that I am not great at writing action anymore. I used to be very good at it, but the thing about writing is sometimes you lose the skills you had. I was so good at fight scenes, action sequences, like action-y dialogue and stuff like that. I'm not good at that anymore. I'm good at description, much better at that, setting the scene, subtext, tension, and stuff like that. So it's been difficult to be like, well, I suck at this thing that I used to be so good at when I was 15. I can't do it anymore. It doesn't feel like regression because, you can't really regress when you're writing. It's an overall progress, but in a sense, it kind of is a regression because I used to be better at it, but at the same time, I'm better at things now. So I can't really complain. I love the journey that I'm at nonetheless. So with that said, I just have not been writing this book. I have barely worked on it, to be honest. I had a couple of days, like 2 days ago, where I just had to force myself. I was like, no, sit down, Rachel. You gotta just write a little bit of it. And you know what I did? I didn't write it. The entire day I didn't write. I was like, no, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this, putting things. I'm on break right now. So I was able to just kind of, let me do this project first and this project. Oh, I wanna work on this gift, and then I wanna do this. I was doing it on purpose because I knew that eventually, looking back on it, clearly it was like subconsciously, I didn't realize I was doing this, but maybe I did. I left it until it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been playing some electric guitar. My brother lent me his loop pedal, and I was working on this loop for like 3 hours because I've never used a loop pedal before, so it was fun. While I'm there, I'm like, I need to be writing. No, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I've just finished my loop. I go into the kitchen to go get a snack because I'm starving because I've stayed up for 3 hours working on a loop, and I have my computer with me, and I put my computer down on the counter, and I'm like, I'm just gonna write. And I think something about the low stakes environment of it literally being 1 o'clock in the morning. I need to go to bed in a second anyway. I'm not going to stay up that long writing. Something about that made me feel better. And I managed to write, I think, 1,000 words that night because when I started, I then sat down at the table and I wrote for like another half an hour or whatever. Sometimes it's just starting that is the difficult part because I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, I'm too afraid to write this right now because I don't want to finish this book. Also, I suck at writing this right now and I'm not really like entertained, and it's not that I'm unhappy with it. It's just that it's so different to what I've been used to that I'm like uncomfortable. With that said, I have been trying hard to tackle fears with writing because I think a lot of the reason why, writers, or speaking for myself at least, we stagnate is because we don't want to push past the things that terrify us. That's the thing with humanity. Like, sometimes we don't do things. Like, I've been telling myself, I'm going to learn how to figure draw for the last, 6 years because I can draw portraits. I still haven't tried it. And do you know how good I would be at figure drawing if I just started 6 years ago? But I was too afraid to, draw badly or whatever. It's not that I'm afraid to write badly now. I don't give a shit if I write badly. I used to. I really did used to. Sometimes I still do. It's not like a black or white thing. Sometimes I'm still like, oh, it's not great, But at this point, I don't often. And so it's weird to be in a situation where I'm kind of adopting old ideologies that aren't great for me. And also I've been just trying to learn how to move past that. For example, I have this idea for a novel that I've been working on, vignette novel. I love vignette style novels. Anything written in vignettes are fantastic. And I want it to be good, and it's called Houses with Teeth. If you've been here since 2018, I've been talking about this book since I think 2019, early 2019. So you would have been around for the first iteration of this book. It has changed so much because I was so afraid of it being not what I wanted it to be. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, if it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out. I just don't want to spend the rest of my life chasing after something that's not attainable. Because I feel like I will chase after, this, I want to feel this particular thing when I'm writing it. I want to be happy with it. I want it to be perfect. I want it this, blah, 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 blah. All of these things I have to set aside when I'm thinking about this book. And I've been getting much better at it. Funnily, this video is probably a means to also procrastinate. It's a lose-lose situation, because I want to do it, I just don't want to do it. I think the prospect of starting anew isn't fantastic for me. I don't like the idea, but at the same time, I'm very excited about writing Houses with Teeth, which is going to be that literary fiction vignette novel that I'm trying not to be perfectionistic about so that it can actually survive rather than just dying as an idea, which it's done many, 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 many times. I'm excited to write it. I just feel I gotta finish Seventh Virtue first, which isn't true. I can finish 7th Virtue whenever I want it. But a funny thing is, I had kind of wanted to stick to the timeline of the book IRL, which is kind of silly. So basically, the book, right now we're at the winter solstice, which the winter solstice was yesterday, I believe. I think it was the 21st of December. And so I was like, I really want to finish the stupid winter solstice scene on the winter solstice. Not that I necessarily like need to stay in the timeline of my book. I just haven't really done that before. I don't think it's ever lined up so exactly. I'm not concerned about it. It was just like a goal to actually get me to write. I didn't write yesterday, and it wasn't because I didn't want to, or maybe it was because I was doing other things instead of actually writing. Because when I want to write, I wake up in the morning and I write because I'm really excited about it. When it's kind of freaking me out, it's just like, I'm not doing it. And this is the thing, like, you might be experiencing this too. It's really normal, and that's why I make these videos, because these are quite literally like the real talks of being a writer. Sometimes it's just like, ugh, I don't want to do this thing even though I want to do this thing. It's like a huge contradiction. And the thing is, I always get through it. I always end up doing the thing. I actually have progressed quite far into this new chapter in Harrison's head, because what I was writing for like almost 3 weeks was Justin Reeves' point of view, so it was nice to actually finish that. It was actually something I hadn't finished in Nano. I left off in the middle of a chapter, so it was nice to actually finish what I'd started in November and kind of start afresh. So I'm gonna try to do that as well. I just think the prospect of finishing this book is a really sad thing for me, because it's not like I'm not gonna work on it again. I have plans to revise it, so it's not that. It's just like I learned how to love writing again when I started this book. Like, if it wasn't for this book, I'd probably still be miserable in my writing, and that is something that is hard to like let go of, even if it's just symbolically, like finishing the book. Okay, I finished the thing that, you know, showed me how to enjoy writing again. It's kind of difficult, I think, emotionally, even if it logically doesn't really make much sense, because I'm quite literally continuing the story. I've just been thinking a lot about fear and being afraid of books and endings and beginnings and loving the middle a lot lately, and I wanted to share that with you because sometimes we're just caught up in our comfort zone. You see, a lot of my writing vlogs are going to be me in my comfort zone, not necessarily me at the very beginning of a novel, nor necessarily me at the end of a novel, just because those are really like kind of turbulent for me. I'm a pantser. I'm starting to figure out where the book is going, and then the end can be either, you know, I'm going into a sequel, so it can also feel like a beginning, or the end is bittersweet because, you know, it's done. You know, I finished the draft. With that said, I think I'm gonna close off this video and get started with writing anyway. I have a couple of ideas for things I want to do. Instead of limiting myself to forcing myself to work on 7th Virtue, I'm gonna kind of procrastinate in a like effective way, and I might play around a little bit with Houses with Teeth, because I'm really excited to write that book in the new year. I've never been excited to write a literary fiction novel before, I don't think. This one, like, I'm genuinely excited to write, and I'm so excited to see kind of like how it turns out. I just can't wait to like cut to me in a couple of months when I'm done this book and be like, I did that. I'm just excited for it. Let me know what you're afraid of in writing, or are you not afraid at all of writing? I am a very fear-driven person, and that also extends to my writing. And while the fear has moved away, like I said, from perfectionism, it's still sometimes there in terms of like the anticipation of something, because the actual writing isn't hard. It's anticipating the writing that I think can sometimes get tricky for me. But let's chat in the comments. Reminder that I'm posting a video tomorrow, so you'll see this one first, and then another one should be going up around, I think, 12 EST. It is everything I wrote in 2022, so make sure you check that out. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.